guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we could grab some coffee?
Coffee, 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 coffee.
How you doing, fellas? That's no decaf, is it?
Viennese cinnamon.
Viennese cinnamon. Not mine. Mine is like extra dark roast with a hint of cream and heavy cream. I like heavy cream. And a little Splenda. And so mine's really bitter this morning, but good bitter. I want to welcome everybody to our Wednesday show. I'm just getting started here, getting warmed up. I want to bring everybody to normal size here. Boom. Of course, with us is none other than Don Ecker. Man, it is a glorious fucking Wednesday. And I did it. I said the F word. God bless America. You know what? We should do a time delay on this show and bleep me. That'll help. That'll help us. I am. If you guys didn't know, we're looking for a sponsor, but I've got to clean up my act. And as Don said it so beautifully this morning, you get one F word an hour. So I just used my one F word for the next hour. I want to say good morning to everybody in the chat. First on the show, Monkey Jeebus this morning. There's his little freaking comment. Freaking comment. D-Bud Martin, good to see you, man. Penny is here, Dork Knight's mom. And thanks for joining us last night, Penny, on Toxic Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed that. That is a fun show. And I got to tell you, man, I need to always be on my A game with those dudes. They're serious, man, especially when Mad Mardigan's on there. That guy is always on his A game. And he will go at me, and if I'm not on my best, he will drag me under, drown me on that show, because he's a veteran, combat veteran, and he knows I'm a vet, and he'll just dig into me, and I'm like, oh my god, I better bring my A game. So I tried to. Hope everybody that watched it. I saw D-Bud was there. I know. I think Tickle Trick was there, and Monkey Jeebus. Didn't I see you in the chat last night? But anyway, good morning, 10 Man. Hey, man, good to see you. Let's see who else is here. Magic Jack Mags, and she was there last night too. Mags, yeah, fun show last night. What a movie! Total Recall, 1990. I was in the Army down in Texas, and we got to go off post and watch it on the IMAX screen. Total Recall. What's that on that 70-foot tall screen? It's like, what is that? 3 stories, I think. Isn't that what it is, guys? Anybody?
Yeah,
here?
it's a little over.
Thereabouts.
Almost 4.
All right. Anima Confusa is here. Good morning. Jack of all casuals is here too. And it was a really, I love talking about that movie, man. Despite the fact that its director, I think, is kind of a douchebag in real life, I love his movies for some reason, and but he fucked up one movie. Everybody loves it. I don't hate it.
Gerry, freaking or fracking. Interchangeable.
Did I say it again?
You did. Yeah. Freaking or fracking.
God,
Use
I'm
those.
on it, guys. I'm working on it. Good morning.
Get one of those shot collars.
Yeah, I would love to have a shot collar. Oh, not for the show, just for fun.
Okay.
Just, shits and good. Yeah. But that movie, the director is I just forgot his name for some reason. RoboCop, Flesh and Bone with
Paul Verhoeven.
Flesh and Blood. Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah.
He's a Dutch. He survived World War II. I get all that, but his general attitude of what the military is and how people should act. Starship Troopers, I had so many problems because he left out really important things. Left
Power
those
armor.
out of the movie. And I
Well,
understand. Look, I get it. You don't like Heinlein and you don't like his.
He didn't read the book.
I wouldn't be surprised. I
No,
had so many
this is the
problems with-
story. He read the first page and then threw the book away, and made the movie up.
based off of a basic synopsis. Guys.
Wait. Which movie was this again?
Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah.
The Japanese anime that was done in '87 is a better film structurally because it took a majority of the book and put it on the screen. I think it's two hours long, the entire thing. It might be longer than that, 4 hours, but it's really good. If you've never seen it and you like Heinlein's work,
It's a miniseries. I got it. 6 episodes, something like that.
6 episodes. It's just a very good adaptation. They left a few things again on the floor because I think everybody's a little afraid of Robert Heinlein because he had a general attitude that I don't agree with because I believe we have liberty in this country. And he was saying that you weren't a real citizen. You were a citizen, but you weren't a voting citizen until you served. And I'm like, that goes against liberty. I can't stand with that. I'm a strict constitutionalist. And but everything else in there made sense to me.
Are you familiar with his other seminal work, Glory Road?
I've never read that one.
Oh my God. I loved Starship Troopers. I really did.
Me too.
But Glory Road spoke to me.
That's one of the few I have his I hadn't read. I'll add that to my list.
Hey, Don, have you read Job, a comedy about justice from him?
What was it?
I think it's called Job, a comedy about justice. From,
Yeah, J-O-B.
Yes.
No.
It's very, very good.
Yeah, here's where I am with Heinlein myself. I read Stranger in a Strange Land.
Good one.
I read The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Very good.
Starship Troopers and The Puppet Masters. And I think that's pretty much all I ever read in school. Because I was really into Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke for sci-fi. And occasionally, because I love Bradbury, but Bradbury wasn't really a sci-fi author. He just delved into the genre. He dabbled in it. His science fiction was not hardcore science fiction. It was just really strong character studies dealing with sci-fi elements.
Well, Glory Road was about a young guy, probably 23, 24, around 1963, 64, that had just come back from being a military advisor in Vietnam. So he had been in combat over there against primarily the Viet Cong, the VC. And you could tell he was very affected by it. But then he was, like a lot of us were when we came back, was at a loss for what to do with his life. So he started thinking along the lines of, well, maybe I could, I don't know, be a mercenary or something along that line. And he started reading want ads. And he read a want ad that basically, and it's been years now since I read Glory Road, but basically was looking for a guy with his skill set. So he went to this interview, and there was this short, kind of chunky guy, balding, that basically was the guy that interviewed him. He pulled a big freaking revolver on this kid, and the kid took it away from him. And basically, yeah, you'll do. Well, they were working for this woman, and this woman, well, it was kind of an interdimensional thing, Gary, interdimensional and off planet. And I'm telling you, you would dig it. I think you would really dig it.
Yeah, I just found I just ordered the Kindle copy of the book. Here you go. This is the cover that goes with it. I've never read this. I don't think I even heard of this book until just now. So I'm going to check it out. As you know, I don't physically read much anymore. Because I'm usually busy. So what I do is I have an amazing auto reader that reads everything text to me,
except for past sins.
Except for past sins. No, I'm using the auto reader for that too. And by the way, I absolutely will not use an English voice for you. Anything that you write, I make sure that it's an English, like American speaking. But I told you when it was reading to me and you wrote the word grenade. Remember when I told you what to do it?
Yeah.
An American, not Canadian, fucking American auto reader says grenade.
Hey,
yeah, I did it again. Grenade.
Third time. I'm counting.
We need to censor Martin. You need to censor me.
Right.
If I can, I'm going to find out if we can do a delay, and if we can do a delay, you're going to censor the shit out of me. Anytime I drop an F-bomb, it's got to be censored. Yes, he's totally shitting on me, Anima. He totally is. But I've earned it.
I'm trying to get his numbers up in the stratosphere.
Yeah.
How about we put you a shocking color?
A shock color. So, but basically, that's also, not to go off on a tangent, because we are talking about this today. So it's not a real tangent. But Mikey is like really wanting me to watch my P's and Q's. But, Mikey doesn't want me to do so many shows. And so one of the things I'm considering, guys, is to do 3 shows a week. And only, except for Wednesday. Wednesday's got to be 2 hours. But Monday show and Thursday show, I will try to keep it to 1 hour. And I can't do after shows. I've really got to take care of my career. I'm just fucking
4.
Yep, that's 4. Yep. We need a swear jar. And that'll stop me. When it costs me money.
Wow.
Here's my book. Here's my book.
We have a Facebook user. I would love for you to please state your name so we can credit you better at the end.
Oh, Facebook user. Yes, please do join us on YouTube. I got to tell you, man, that really irks me that StreamYard doesn't identify who the user is. And I want to know who's talking to us. Plus, we can't respond to Facebook through StreamYard. We can only respond to those on YouTube. I want the show to be available on Facebook for people, but if you are going to comment, I won't get to see it until later. And that bugs me because I want to be able to respond to everybody. So I don't know if that's Stephanie or who it is over on Facebook, but Stephanie's been coming here when she shows up. Alex Moore is here. Good morning, my friend. How are you doing? I already said hello to Glenn. Joe is here. Joe's Atmosphere. Joe is a really cool dude. I've been doing more shows with him at night, and I met him through Brian, the Scottish friend of ours that does by way of Canada, and he does his show about every other week. And this week we talked about some great bands going back to the 70s, and that was a really good show. Did you join us, Keith? Were you on the show? You were on the show with me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I was.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
What a great show. And when you and I get a chance to get away from nerd stuff and start talking music is fun. But boy, oh boy, they shit on me for being a drummer, didn't they? How do you get a drummer to stop talking? Put sheet music in front of him.
But
I was like, hey, I can read sheet music. I'm like one of those few. Well, drummers, if you played marching band, you know how to read drum notes, which is you still have to know where everything is. And that's how I learned to read sheet music, was because I knew how to read drum notes.
Did you wear earplugs when you were playing?
No, it's part of the reason why. And it's amazing because Anima and I did a hearing test separately. And I'm like, I can hear noises. It's according to the test, I have the ears of a 35-year-old. And I have nerve damage in my hearing. I have 20% nerve damage left ear, 10% right ear last time it was tested. But I still pick up sounds. What happens is cross noise. If I go into a loud room, it causes crackling. I get crackling in my ears. I hate that. And it makes me also talk louder because I can't hear myself through my own ears, because we all are used to that. We're trained, our body is trained to hear our own voice. But if I have too much cross noise, man, Jim Woodward was the first person who noticed it. He's like, you really get loud when there's noise around you, air conditioner, wind, whatever. And so I went and had it tested. And I'm like, yep, you're right. Charlie Bruce is here. Good morning, Charlie. Charlie and I have been friends since 1982. He was the DJ at WFVA in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Late night. I'd go spend all night with him, man. It was fun hanging out with him.
Yeah, I live with a constant hiss.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man. That's part of tinnitus.
Yeah.
Joe, that's right. You're doing your retirement. Gonna go get your government cheese. Yeah, buddy. God bless you, Joe. I love you, man. And Charlie, you know I love you, buddy. I'm only a by ear musician. I thought you were in marching band for Stafford, Virginia. He was actually the prom date for my first ex-wife. I got Charlie in the divorce. Charlie was her friend, and he became my friend, even though he's still friendly with her. But I did. I got Charlie in the divorce. Right, Charlie? We have worked together, lived together. I love Charlie, man. So let's get into not Project UFO, UFO by Gerry Anderson. And I loved it last night. Did you catch that, Keith, when I think it was Script Doctor, when I was on Midnight's with him on Midnight's Edge, he called him Gerry Anderson. And I'm like, dude, you did that for me. And I know you did, because you know his name is Gerry. He says, yeah, I did. But I only got to be on Midnight's Edge for a little bit yesterday because I had to do the show later.
Yeah.
And of course, Tom dropped in too, but he left early. Thank God. To deal with Tom, with my humor, to deal with Tom and Mad Mardigan in one episode, that's too much. Because I have to be on my toes with both of them with my humor. But even with Tom, sometimes I just let it go. Just go. This is his show. He's owning it. I'm going to shut the hell up and just enjoy the comedy. Matt, on the other hand, he'll fuck with. I did it again.
That's fine. You're done for the rest of the week, dude.
It's my entire a lot. Oh my God, I never realized how hard this is gonna be.
Yeah. I've tried once or twice to
so hard.
Failed miserably.
But I in the end, it's gonna help me because, like Don said, we should. And I said this to Keith. I said, as good as you think we're doing, we should be at 10,000 subscribers at this point. We should have 10,000 people sub to our channel. And instead, we're coming up on 5. We're halfway where we need to be and where we should be. And I do blame myself for it with my freaking mouth. Freaking mouth.
That's good, Gerry. Keep it up.
I'm trying. I'm so stressed right now. My coffee's almost gone already.
Wow.
Oh my God. I don't know if I could. It's like quitting cigarettes, I think. Quitting cussing is just like quitting cigarettes.
No, dude. I could quit the cigarette. I haven't with the cussing.
It is Stephanie. It was Stephanie. There's Stephanie.
Good.
Yeah, thank you for popping in here instead of on
the
Facebook.
update.
Nice software, Stephanie. What is this? Anima says, I need to be next to Gary and hit him every time he drops an F-bomb or tickle him. I don't know if I'm ever going to tell you my one ticklish spot because Lori, when I was 18, was the first person to ever find it. I didn't know I had it. And when she touched it, my entire body went like a banana. It went up like that. And then I rolled up and jumped and got into a fighting stance with her like I was going to punch her. I'm like, don't touch her. Don't ever do that again. I hated that. Because I'm not ticklish anywhere else. Like my daughter used to get frustrated that she would dicky-do the bottom of my foot, under my arms. I'm like, you're not going to get anything. I have one spot on my body where I'm ticklish. And it will absolutely cause me to want to punch you in the face. That's what happens.
That's nice. We have a super chat from Magitech.
Yes, we do. I'm looking at it right now. Magitech Mags, $5. Good morning. How are you doing today, Magitech? Gary, use forking. Oh, my God. Like that celeb chick you think I look like. Kristen Bell from The Good Place. I'm telling you, Magitech Mags, you need to go as one of her major characters that she's played. Because you do. You look so much like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, it's not just me. It's not just me. She's like, I don't see it. We see it. Did I tell? Oh, I did tell her where it's at. Oh, my God. I wish I just shut the freak up. There, I did it again. Freak. I'm becoming more cognizant of my mouth. Yes, my Input Wednesday shows are my favorite. Yep.
Well, the problem with your cussing is you were in the military.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that I cussed a little bit before the military. Mon petit. But after the Army, I was ruined.
Yeah. Did you saw Hamburger Hill, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
Well, that scene with the guy who's telling his friend that I cannot go to home no more. The last time I saw, I was, and he talks about the conversation about the food, and every word that he says to his family was preceded by an F-bomb.
Yeah.
The Army did three things to me. Coffee, which was a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Lucky Strikes, unfiltered, which was a bad thing.
Very bad.
And the F-bomb. So there I was. Now, it took me a long time, Gary, but I conditioned myself. Now, look, I'm it occasionally sneaks out, but I basically went to freaking, you've probably heard me say that a lot of times, in lieu of the F-bomb, or fracking, which I got from BSG. So that's a good one too.
I would go for that because of the nerdy thing.
Well, the thing that's amazing about it, and I did it in one sentence in the Army, and it really, everybody stopped and looked at me because I absolutely, in one single sentence, used it as a noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. All four. One sentence. And everybody was like, whoa. And one of them was ucking effers. You ucking effers. And it began with something else and it was the same word. And they're like, you just said almost your entire sentence was the F word.
Cheeky fackers?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's no, I'm gonna tell you something. I brush my teeth, so I don't have a mouth like a sailor. Sorry, buddy.
Hey, boss, we need a thank you video for Max.
That came out of nowhere, Don. I don't know where I came up with that. That was just I will tell you my favorite sailor joke. A sailor and a Marine go into a latrine and are taking a whiz. And when they walk away from the Marine zips up and starts to head for the door while the sailor goes to the sink and he goes, hey, my mama taught me to wash my hands after I pee. The Marine opens the door, looks at me, he goes, my mama taught me not to piss on my hands.
Oh.
But I love the Navy. I really do. I think they're an awesome branch. The branch I poke fun at, and I know you understand why, Don, is the Air Force. The Air Force it's like Marines are jarheads, leathernecks.
I went off on an F-bomb rant several days ago on my Facebook page.
Oh.
I came across, and it's something I don't normally do. If I feel strong enough to use the F word, it's usually freaking.
Right.
But I came across a news story where the Air Force Academy, they have a diversity training outfit there that are now advising the cadets to use gender neutral terms.
What?
Don't use mom and dad.
What?
Now,
Yes.
do not use mom and dad because that's not gender neutral. When I read that article, and hey, look, this is one of the reasons I really love coming on this show, because we usually end up doing something military or talking about the military. But I lost my shit, okay, when I read that. I really did. What I did, I flashed back. On March the 30th, 1972, I was in a 9-man team up on the demilitarized zone of I-Corps in South Vietnam. I was as far north as you could legally go, sitting right on the Co Viet River. And the North Vietnamese launched an offensive all over Vietnam, on that day. And I was sitting on an M60 machine gun with our bunker. We had a lot of TS&C equipment in our that's top secret crypto gear.
Yep.
In our bunker. Stuff that they couldn't get, okay? If we had to die to destroy that, that's what we had to do. And the guys inside the bunker were popping incendiary grenades on our equipment to burn it out, okay? And I'm there watching, and we were attached to a couple of companies of South Vietnamese troops from the 3rd ARVN Division. Now, I got to tell you, the 3rd ARVN, the 1st ARVN Division was good. The 3rd was an ad hoc division that the South Vietnamese government had thrown together. And, individually, some of these guys were okay, but as a whole, division was a piece of shit. And they broke and ran. And I'm sitting there on this gun watching these guys come to our wire. And that's what I was thinking of when I read that article. These people have no more logic or common sense than a pissant on the dark side of the moon when it comes to military stuff. All right. They have no idea. They've never been in a situation where they knew you were going to die. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys, now Gerry maybe, but you guys can really grok that, can really it's a cognitive thing in your head. Hey, this is it. Okay. This is it. Make it good. So I don't want to get too dramatic, but when I read that article, Gerry, I just went berserk. I really did.
Yeah.
Hey, Gerry.
Yes.
We need the thanking video for Max. We almost forgot.
Max, that's right. I forgot about that. I got a new one. Added last night. Here you go. Here you go. You've heard me do my impression of Nicholson. There's the real deal.
Where do they teach you to talk like this? In some Panama City sailor want a hump bar? Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
Nicholson does a good impression of you, Gerry.
Yes, he does. I've always said it slightly wrong. I always say, where do they teach people like you to talk like that? And some Panamanian sailor won a hump bar. Or is this last day or last shot at the boss's whiskey. Go sell crazy somewhere else. We're all stocked up here. You know?
A little jokery.
Yeah, it's a little. He's a little more casual. I'm doing more like the Joker, Nicholson.
Now, I wanted to tell you something or comment. And this is the UFO show, and we are talking about the Air Force and shenanigans. Did you see the logo for the intelligence of the Air Force? They put a little UFO in a corner of the logo.
No, I didn't see that. And speaking of that, I need to fix something real quick here. Boom. There it is. I didn't see that. So what is it? Why is it?
I don't know. Let me find out. You keep on with the show while I look for a picture.
Alrighty. Well, Glenn Fleming says, speaking of UFO, did you guys ever see the comic strips in the 70s that appeared in Countdown and later TV action? No, I never did. I never did see that. When I was over in the UK, what I read was Dan Dare. That was like my favorite comic while I was over in the UK. As always, knew Chair Force was a joke. Yeah. Chair Force. I got to tell you, man, the first time I went to a chow hall was that when I joined my unit out in California. We were a medical ambulance unit attached to a MASH unit, which later became a cash unit. And I got to tell you, it was dark brown mahogany type wood. Low lighting. I thought it was in a steakhouse, and I thought my sergeants were messing with me, and I was getting nervous. Like at some point, I'm going to get in trouble, and they're going to laugh because we're eating in this place. It looked like a freaking steakhouse, and had flickering candle lights. You know, the electronic candle lights, little lanterns on the wall. I'm like, what the heck? And the people were coming in, had hair over their ears and mustaches all the way out to here, you know. And I'm like, this is not military. And finally they said, no, those are Air Force. And I'm like, they can dress like that and have their hair that long and mustaches going out to Magnum PI? Really? I was blown away. And they did have steaks, by the way. I'm like, that is the best food outside of San Antonio. Best military food I ever had was at at McClellan Air Force Base. God, that was good. Air Force has got it easy, man.
I got a poster. I'm going to have to send you a photo of. It's got this buff guy. I mean, built like Magnum PI in his prime. Okay. Standing there in a t-shirt, a cap, and his dungarees, holding an M16 rifle in front of him. And you can obviously see it has no sight on it, no rear sight. And it says, the U.S. Air Force. Too cool for a rear sight.
Oh my God. They're so bad. That is terrible. So let's go ahead and start delving into UFO. I know that the premise of the series is that it's 1980, which is shown to you constantly in every opening title, that Earth is being visited by aliens from a dying planet who do not breathe oxygen. They have to have their own stuff inside their suit to breathe. But they're abducting humans and they're harvesting organs for their bodies. But there's a belief, and that's the first thing you see with Ed Stryker. Is it Ed Stryker?
Yeah.
Ed Stryker.
Colonel Ed Stryker.
Colonel Ed Stryker.
Shadow.
And they're being escorted by they're in a limousine. He's with other military leaders and
senior officers.
Yep, senior officers. And they are attacked by one of the UFOs, which I love the UFOs in that show. What a great model they made. Anyway, their concern is that there is a planned and possible full-scale invasion. So the series, main cast are all military people, military intel, and they work for a company or a group called Shadow, which is an acronym for Supreme Headquarters Alien Defense. That's I can't remember what the last what is organization, I think. Yeah, organization. Anyway, it's established in the United Kingdom, but the United States, Soviet Union, France, Germany, East and West, as well as the city of Bonn is mentioned quite a few times. Paris, Moscow, Washington are all working together to defend the planet from these things. So you get lots of cool characters. I think the coolest thing to me as a kid, even though later it looks really dumb, are the mesh outfits that the naval personnel wear. And you can see more boob under them. It was really nice. I know I was just a kid, 8 years old, but
hey,
man, that was something else when it came to the
you
U.S.
get your boob where you can, man.
And the sad part is, with the show, it really wasn't marketed well in the United States. So finding it was spotty. You kind of just happened to luck into it. And then you remember the next week it was that time, and then I finally got to watch almost the entire series as a kid. I didn't see the whole series, the full series, every episode until I was an adult and I bought it. But what a great show. Ed Stryker is such a cool character. They found this shock white-haired American with your typical American, very accent neutral American.
You know, he was in You Only Live Twice.
Yes.
He looks like Race Bannon.
Yes, he does. And when I was a kid, I used to think that too. That, wow, he looks like Race Bannon, but he's not quite as muscular. He's kind of scrawny.
No, yeah.
But he did facially look like Race Bannon. And if you guys don't know who that is, that's the guy that was the caretaker security officer for Professor and teacher for Johnny Quest and Haji, his adopted brother. And which, in the military, when we started referring to, finding new and interesting ways to refer to people that were the bad guys or enemy in the military, Haji is one of the things they call them. But there's no G in it, or D in it. I'm sorry, there's no D in it like it is with Haji in Johnny Quest. Haji is Haji in the military. And it represented every single Islamic militant that we had to deal with, is what that name was for. You can call it racist if you want. That's the military. Everybody is the bad guy if you're dealing with them. So, but going back to the show, ITV hadn't really come to America yet. At that point when they did that show, all they had was the UK office. It wasn't until Space 1999 that they got an American ITV office. And it was garbage because it ruined Space 1999. Gerry Anderson, and it always feels like UFO was the last thing that he had total control over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much control he had over Persuaders, which was his next show.
Protectors.
Protectors. What was Persuaders was Roger Moore and Tony Curtis show.
Yeah,
that's right. The Protectors was the one with Vaughn, and both of them came out around the same time. And I liked Persuaders too, by the way. Have you ever watched that, Keith?
Oh yeah, I grew up watching all of this. This is all just within my wheelhouse, man.
Yeah. So in the series, they broke the show up because it's hard to tell when you're watching the episodes where the season begins and ends. In my opinion, I've just said it was just one slowly released season. I wouldn't call them a season 1 or season 2, which is what they have it listed as. I would say it was just one long season.
Mm-hmm.
And because the stories, a season usually has a break in the action. And I want to go ahead and share this real quick. I'm sure I'm going to get ganked for it later. I'll worry about it then. Share screen. Because the opening was one of my favorite things. Love the theme, the teletype, the ships, everything. It had this energy. And of course, it all takes place in 1980. So their version of 1980 is really cool to look at. And can you guys see it?
Yeah, it hasn't started playing yet.
No, I was waiting to hear if we could see it. So I got to watch the seconds. I apologize. All right, that's 11 seconds. I'm going to break it up a little bit. And the first thing you see is Shadow. All right. There's that 1980s car.
Yeah.
Oh, if only.
Man. Those onesies. I'm not sure which had it worse, this show or Next Generation. Ooh, butt shot. Sid is one of what's his name? Richard Edlund's best designs outside of the Eagle 2 and the spaceships.
Oh yeah,
the fighters, the snub fighters they have in the show. And there's the show Sid. There he is. It's a computer in space, and its job is to watch the skies and look for these UFOs.
Yeah, but the Skydiver is the coolest
It is your
vehicle there.
Well, this is your typical Gerry Anderson ship. Something that he loved doing underwater ships. Oh man, those mesh outfits, right?
Oh my goodness!
And there's Sky One.
Now these things, I wanted one of these so badly for my G.I. Joe action figures.
Oh, that'd have been awesome.
Oh yeah. And that thing firing was one of the UFOs. That's right. Before Space 1999, Gerry Anderson actually put us on the moon already with this version of the moon base. And all the women in uniform, part of their uniform was purple hair.
That was my favorite part.
Hell yeah. Although the single rocket on the nose was so dumb. It's like, why don't you just have that nose with a bunch of smaller rockets inside to fire? And in fact, Keith and I have talked about this before, that originally Space 1999 was supposed to be connected to UFO.
Yeah, it's supposed to be either season 2 or season 3.
Season 3, because they did 2 seasons.
Yeah. So
and what ended up happening is there are last minute changes, but it still felt like part of the same universe, because it was 19 years later than the original series. And so clearly the ships would be different. Moon base would be larger. And it always struck me that that wasn't some sort of accident, that was an attack by that alien force. And that's always been one of the more confusing things with Space 1999, was that why did the waste explode like it did? And what was going on with these people that they were getting sick and then dying? They were going crazy and then getting sick and dying. Remember that, Keith?
Oh, yeah.
And that always felt like it was a holdover from UFO, that this was something being done to them by those aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And I wished in some ways that they had left that connection in there to the show. But the UFO in that show is, I love the spinning thing and the way it was lit, and it just had that clear chrome or clear plexiglass dome over the top of it. It was just one of the coolest models, and they never sold it in the US. I never found one. And I always wanted one of those toys or
Gerry
models.
Anderson always had such amazing model work.
Mm-hmm.
And Edlund, he was inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey. And in fact, especially when he did the Eagles for Space 1999, he based the design of the black under the eye look of the ships to because that's what NASA uses, is to keep a glare off of the screen or their eyes. Put that black in front of the front port windows, and they did it for the ship and that. And it was, but I've got that 3 foot long one. I need to get that on the wall here or something, because Brian made that for me, an actual Eagle 2, beautiful model kit, made it from scratch. Monkey Jeebus is here. Scott Lewis is watching. Chris couldn't join us today because he was sick, by the way, guys. Feeling a bit under the weather. I'm trying to see if did I miss anybody?
Marcos?
Oh, Marcus is here. Marcos A, but he's Marcus to me on Twitter. So good. All right, we got everybody. Now, what impacted me the most from the show is more today is how we're dealing with these things, because Don Ecker can scare the shit out of me sometimes when he talks about what could be going on. And I think it should be a concern. I think that these things never considered us a problem until atomics. Once we reached the atomic age, we became a potential threat to them. And that's why I think that they've shown a keen interest in our missile silos. And as everybody that's in the know knows, we had an assault on a missile silo where they took total control away from the human element at that missile silo. They had no control over those.
Yeah, that was in Montana and the South Dakota. But are you aware it also happened in the USSR about 1983?
No, what happened?
Well, there was a mobile ICBM missile installation. Now, this came out after the fall of the Soviet Union. Okay, this was not known at the time. But in light of what happened here in the States, it happened in 1967. It also happened in the mid-70s, where missile bases had incursions by UFOs that came in and shut down. I mean, this is beyond dispute. This happened. Shut down the ICBMs. If war would have broken out, those bases would not have been able to respond. They lost full control of their batteries, their missile batteries. But in 1983, these guys up in the sky, whoever they are, were sending messages. They came in to this Soviet mobile installation, took control of the computers, and began a launch sequence. In other words, they activated the Russian missiles. They began a launch sequence. The Russians couldn't do anything about it. Not a thing. They tried desperately to shut it down. It would not shut down. Now, this came out after the fall of the Soviet Union by TV newsman journalist George Knapp. Went over to the former USSR, because at that time, everything was for sale. KGB files were opened. All kinds of stuff happened. Dr. Marina Popovich, one of their most celebrated aviators, who also had been trained in the cosmonaut corps, and her ex-husband was General Pavel Popovich, the first man to rendezvous with another spacecraft in orbit back in 61, 62. She was able to come over here. I spent a weekend with her, talking to her, interviewing her. And she told me some amazing things. But this Knapp story came back. If the unknowns would not have stopped the sequence, they would have launched on the United States.
Wow.
Would have launched. But they shut it down literally at the last second. Now, Knapp reported on this. I mean, this is not Don Ecker spinning a story. This is what actually happened. And when you think about it, the implications are terrifying.
It is. It really is. Man.
But here's the thing. If, in fact, these entities are based here, and guys, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have come to the conclusion that they are not only here, but some of them walk among us. Okay? They walk among us because they look as human as you or I, at least the ones I'm referring to.
Right.
And God only knows. I've heard stories over the years. I was talking to a highly placed former government employee. That's all I'll say about that. But he was highly placed, and he allegedly, because I did my cop detective interrogation routine on him. Not hard, a soft interrogation. And he said, yeah. He said, well, I met a couple of people, okay, that were described to me as not from here. And I had some very interesting conversation. I had a very interesting conversation with them. So, yeah, Ecker, if you're thinking they're here and they're walking among us, you're right. So, for whatever that's worth, I didn't talk to them. I couldn't say.
And going back to the series, that's really almost prophetic how we're feeling now over these UFOs is that we wish and hope that there is an Ed Stryker out there in a shadow organization really trying somehow to protect us from these things. That, and I believe that if they were aggressive, they would have done something by now. But the fact is I know they're watching our technology and seeing how we do things, and they're staying ahead of us. And I don't think in the end we pose a threat to them. Otherwise, they would have done something.
Covertly, Gary, things have happened. Things that will, God forbid, excuse me, God forbid they ever hit the airwaves, but things have happened. Okay, there have been confrontations.
Yeah. And I would like to get into one of them later with you, like on another episode, because you called bullshit on it, and I really wanted to go into it because I want to know.
You're talking about Dulce, the Dulce base?
Cavern, yeah, the cavern battle between the two species, and we got pulled into the crossfire. By the way, Martin sent this. This is the logo for the Office of the Direct National Intelligence, NIM Aviation. And it incorporates a UFO in it.
Yeah, it was on Twitter for 2 days or so, but I pretty convinced it's bogus.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it looks like the UFO was just added on.
That's what it looks like to me. It's pasted in there. I just like, but going back to the series, Lou Grade was a huge part of Gerry Anderson's career. And those of you who like Jackie, he was involved with a lot of projects that were coming out of or coming through the UK to the United States. And so Lou Grade was somebody that popped up on a lot of our radars early on. And he became that guy that produced shows for Gerry Anderson. And sadly, he pointed out that, what was that show called? Joe 90, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That show had tanked. They were not getting the viewership. And Lou Grade kind of went to Gerry and said, look, man, you got to do something different. This isn't working. The puppets aren't working. Marionettes aren't working anymore. Super Marionation, not working anymore. And so Gerry sat down with his wife at the time, Sylvia, who was a major part of these projects. And they came up with UFO, a show about fighting an alien force and using humans and do full-size props and miniatures. And Lou Grade saw it, fell in love with it, and said, I'm producing it. But here's the weird part. It was so spread out. ITV would make a show, and you would get maybe 4 shows in 1 year, and then the next year. And how they broke it down into seasons, I still don't get that. Because they say there are 2 seasons of it, but it's spread out over like 3 years.
Yeah.
And it really comes across that there's no break in it. It just seems to be one continuous story. So it's just 1 season. Why are you calling it 2? Season 3, though, if it had happened, would have been what Space 1999 became. But when the show, because I think the failure of UFO was how they broke it up and marketed it. That was the failure. And so Gerry decided to go in another direction. He did that show, The Protectors, with
Robert Vaughn.
Robert Vaughn. And it was a really nice little espionage show. It had like Get Smart type tech in it. You know, the thing in his heel of his shoe, all that shit.
Well, I mean, it was about a mysterious benefactor who was basically had these individuals working for him, and they would go after people who the benefactor would point out were bad guys. And it was just an excuse to do something kind of like what he was doing before, except with live actors. And removal of technically the sci-fi aspects of it. It was more of a straightforward storytelling. But the fact is it was never far from his mind. And so what was to be the 3rd season was Space 1999, which they kind of really played down the alien presence in that opening pilot. And I felt like that kind of hurt the show in a little way, but it was good science fiction. But UFO itself was this great show that filmed it in 1969, the 1st season, but they slowly dispersed it throughout the year. And instead of like the way we do it, like back when we were all young, TV shows were 32 episodes a season, and they would be spread out over almost half the year.
That's how a lot of these streaming services, Gary, are doing it now. Okay. Yeah. For example, Jack Reacher was a short, what was it, like 7 or 8 episodes, and then it went away. And supposedly now they're doing it, but they did the same thing with Stranger Things. Okay, that was broken up over years. 1 season, then you got to wait a year until the next one comes out. And there was a what the heck, Travelers out of Canada, which I thought was a great premise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Battlestar Galactica.
Coming back. Exactly. Yeah. And you had to wait and wait and wait. So the whole dynamic is, in my opinion, changing.
Yeah, it is. And but I will tell you this: I had somebody go, "Well, you get better writing with shorter seasons." I said, "That's just an idiotic thing to say. Why would you say that?"
If that was true, She-Hulk could be amazing.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Oh gosh!
Somebody get an extinguisher for that burn.
Oh. Better call an ambulance, everybody.
Apply cold water.
One of the things that made Star Trek so good, because even though some episodes felt padded in Star Trek, the 1st season, it allowed you to get to know the characters, and that's why I feel that doing these 8 to 13 episode seasons is disappointing to some people, because you want to get to know these characters more and watch them do their thing and how they interact with each other. With Stranger Things, it's more of an event series. It's like a long movie, the way they do it. So I think it works with some of those, but there are some shows that they're doing as limited series or, shorter seasons, where I feel like just when you're really starting to understand the character, the season is over.
We have a super sticker from Darius Munchausen.
Darius
What
Munchausen
kind of happened with Lucifer?
Lucifer, good show. I enjoyed that show.
Yeah.
I still do. Hoping to see another season of that. Darius Munchausen, thank you for the $4 super sticker. I don't know what it is. What is it, guys? Can anybody
Big
see
Bird
it?
offering coffee.
Oh, Big Bird. So Darius Munchausen, who is the single safest version of Munchausen, I want to thank you, buddy, for the super sticker. For you, I shall play one of the Martin videos. Martin put these up here for me. These are nice. This is my favorite one right here. This one's for you, Darius.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
There you go. U.S. Marshal, I'm not here to care whether you committed the crime or not. I'm here to bring you in. That's all I care about. Even though he does technically care because he begins doing his own investigation. That's what makes that movie so freaking great.
We got a war monkey in the house.
Oh, we do?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
War Monkey. What's up, War Monkey? Yeah.
I think that movie also led to an Academy Award nomination.
For Tommy?
Yeah.
Definitely not for Harrison. I didn't kill my wife.
Actually, it did win an Academy Award for its visual effects.
One-armed man. But now, one thing I will point out, big Star Trek Babylon 5 star was in that movie.
Andreas Katsulas.
Yep.
God rest his soul. What a good actor he was.
Missouri native.
And also, there was a fugitive tie-in with the TV series Scrubs. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because the janitor, we never learn his name. You never learn that dude's name that works in the hospital. Just always fucking with Dr. We're in the second hour. I screwed up. The janitor.
JD. He was always messing with JD.
John Dorian. Yep. JD. And Dorian is with his big bear watching a movie. Happens to be The Fugitive. In the subway scene, they recognize one of the cops as being the janitor. And it's one of the most meta weird moments in that series is, like, wait a minute, is the reason we don't get his name that the janitor is actually the actor playing him? It was just such a weird moment, but I loved it. It was like, that show was brilliant. Until it did its next final season. It was weird after that. I didn't want to watch anymore. But I loved it up to its actual finale.
So somebody knows anything about this?
Didn't the guy they based The Fugitive on actually kill his wife? No. They have found out he was cleared that there was a guy at the house, plumber. And he's the one who actually committed the crime.
Yep. The doctor, the actual doctor that all of this, the case that this is based on, actually occurred in Ohio.
Yep.
And they ended up basing a hit television series for which the movie is
David Jansen. And from Space 1999, I forget his name, the professor or a scientist is the cop chasing him, English.
Well, I think The Fugitive was the series with that famous David Jansen story about how he used to drink so much that he was completely drunk before they were able to finish all their filming. And in order to get done with the scene, they ended up having David Jansen just lay down and built all the furniture around him and then filmed it on the side so that it seemed like he was standing up and leaning on a piece of furniture. David Jansen loved to drink.
Oh, it's what led to his death.
Yeah.
But yes, Desi Liu got 2 hit series from the same idea. The Fugitive morphed into The Invaders. And that show, of course, was a guy that was on the run from the police as well as aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Conspiracy. One of my other favorite shows on TV as a kid growing up.
Well, I think The Fugitive was the show that was really pseudo inspiration for
Don't say it.
I'm gonna say it.
All right, go ahead.
Pseudo inspiration for CBS's version of the Incredible Hulk.
I knew you were going to do it.
Yeah, I know.
You mother bucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Any show that had that kind of feel was inspired by The Fugitive.
Yeah.
And eventually, it led to a movie being made of The Incredible Hulk. No, I mean The Fugitive. And but
There
Invaders,
were
in my
Incredible Hulk
opinion,
movies.
yeah. But the one that was most like it was the one that actually gave a nod. The one with Ed Norton gave a nod to the TV series, and I kind of liked that. I liked it in there, but I didn't think Ed Norton was right for the character. And I think that I don't like that commie piece of shit that plays Banner now, but he plays the character right. So I may not like him personally, but he does a good job as the Hulk and looks the part, because the Hulk should look like that. It should look like something Jack Kirby drew. Square jaw, all that shit.
But in my opinion, you shouldn't be so redundant.
You not be redundant. What?
Piece of shit, Tommy.
When I said
that's a redundancy.
Yeah,
when I said Incredible Hulk movies, I was referring more to like the Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
No, I love that one. I love that one.
There are 4 of those, right?
Yeah, there were 4. I don't remember all the names, but
we got to meet the Avengers through. We got to meet the Avengers through some of the movies.
Yeah, Thor wasn't in one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Trial was in another.
The Trial of the Incredible Hulk had
the first appearance of Stan Lee,
Matt Murdock.
Yeah, but it was the first cameo for Stan Lee.
Really?
In a Marvel property. In a Marvel property, yeah.
He waited.
Now, by the way, Don, I was watching something the other day, and I just remembered it about an incident with aliens in Vietnam. And what do you know this story?
I know several stories.
It had to do with a cave or something. Where
the one that I'm most familiar with was an incursion over the DMZ. This would have been 68, I believe. It was about the time of the Tet
Offensive. For
Offensive.
those of you who don't know, DMZ stands for Demilitarized Zone. It's no combat. So,
supposedly.
Go ahead, Don. Yeah. Supposedly. There's
supposedly no combat.
Fighting.
The neutral zone.
Yes. The neutral zone is based off of a DMZ. Exactly.
So military radar picked up an object flying in from North Vietnam. And they scrambled a couple of F-4 Phantoms. I think they came out of Da Nang, okay? But they hit the afterburners, went shooting up there, picked up this target on their radar, on their internal aircraft radar, and they ended up firing missiles at it. Now, at that time, the North Vietnamese had not overtly displayed any Air Force in the South. Okay, none. Of course, they had air defense over North Vietnam and that type of thing, but nothing had flown down here. At that point, there had been a number of UFO, unidentified sightings of something flying around up there. When the Phantoms locked on and fired the missiles, they scored a direct hit. And this thing went down. Well, the next day, now at that point, up around the DMZ, I-Corps, that was in I-Corps, the Marines had a heavy presence up there. They sent a Marine Force recon team in there to find out what it was the Phantoms had knocked down. When they got up there and they got to the exact spot where this thing impacted, there was nothing there but a burn mark.
Wow.
No debris, no parts, pieces of aircraft, just a burn mark. Now, that was one case. Another case happened up where I was in I-Corps, where, and anybody that's familiar with UFOs will recognize this, there had been black helicopters coming in. And one recon team alleged that they came upon and landed what appeared to be a UH-1 UE helicopter, which is primarily what everybody was flying around then. Our guys were flying around. And some Asian troopers and some tall white guys were seen stepping off the helicopter. Okay, this was in the jungle. So nobody knew what the hell it was. And then it was theorized that maybe the North Vietnamese had collected enough pieces and parts from knockdown UEs that they were able to patch one together, and they were flying North Vietnamese and either East German or Soviet Spetsnaz troops around doing God knows what. So, that was not necessarily UFO related, but there were a lot of freaky stories coming out from the indigenous peoples around there with these choppers. So that was another very squirrely
sounds it, yeah,
incident. One more.
Now
okay.
Oh, because I want to ask you about the one note, because the Vietnamese had described these lizard-like people living under the ground. That
a lot of crypto creatures up there, including
US
the rock apes.
Ran into. Oh, the rock apes,
including the rock apes. The rock apes were something else. They were almost today identify as Sasquatch or Bigfoot creatures.
Right.
And my cousin, whom at the time I was really, really close, had been a jarhead up at Marble Mountain outside of Da Nang. Okay, had been in the Marines up there. And they had quite a few encounters with the rock apes where guys were even attacked up there. Okay, Marines had even been allegedly attacked by these creatures. That I'm aware of, nobody ever killed one, and that I know of, that they were able to identify exactly what these things were. So, but there was one other story I wanted to mention, where at Da Nang, a radio signal, and I'm trying to remember now exactly how this went down. A radio transmission from, they thought it was a submarine, but they were using World War II frequencies, okay, that was talking about unidentified aircraft. Now, the frequencies then were entirely different than what we were using by that time in the 60s and 70s. I don't recall now what the frequencies were on, what frequency was using, but it was a World War II frequency. So then a lot of people began, not a lot of people, but a number of people began suggesting maybe this was some kind of a time incursion that somehow, kind of like a wormhole effect, a signal came through a time warp or something. Now, I realize how batshit crazy that sounds, but, that happened. So,
like the movie Frequency, where the guy's talking to his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But just
but hey, in wartime, these things pop up. Okay, these weird little. It's like in Desert Storm. Okay, when Desert Storm broke after Desert Shield, there were a bunch of UFO sightings that had been picked up over there. You're familiar with that, aren't you, Gerry?
Yeah.
They have an inordinate, or they apparently have an inordinate interest in what we're doing down here on the ground. So, and of course, at that time, if you remember, the big thing was Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And don't forget, in 81, the Israelis knocked out a nuclear reactor complex where they were trying to create plutonium for his nuclear weapons program. And they went in and bombed it back into the desert sand. So, yeah, there were a lot of things. It's amazing to me how people's memories are so short about a lot of this. Not to get off on a political rant, but it's like the Benghazi affair, okay? Benghazi, where those guys, when they were being attacked by militants, by Islamic militants, were begging for help. The signals, the radio transmissions, the phone calls were going back to CIA and Langley and back to DC, to the White House, and they totally ignored them. And those four guys, a number of them got killed. Okay.
And by the way,
they lied about it. They lied about it. It came out of the Obama White House, and Hillary Clinton lied and tried to claim it was some obscure video that somebody created about the Prophet Muhammad. Okay. It was
mislead. Yeah. Mislead.
Purest bullshit.
I will say this too.
Men are dead. Okay.
Yep.
That offends me.
Go watch 13 Hours. It's a powerful film. And I'm not a big advocate of the producer director on that. I'm really not. Because he made the same guy that made Pearl Harbor, which was a terrible movie. But 13 Hours, I think, is a great film that honors the men that served that night and died. So it's a shame. But speaking of that, because you brought up Israel, I wanted to bring this up, completely unrelated, story-wise, structurally, but this is something that got swept under the rug that people don't remember, is that the Israelis said it was an accident, but most of us don't believe it's true. The USS Liberty, when it was hit by Israeli weapons.
67, yeah.
Yep, 67.
That was an NSA spy ship, by the way.
Yep, it was a spy ship, and they directly hit it, killing American crews. And I'm a big supporter of Israel, but I've always been angry about what they did there.
Yes.
Because we were never their enemies.
As am I, Gerry.
We were never their enemies. We've always been there for them. And for them to do that was a great betrayal of our trust that they did that with us, because we were always trying to help them. Mm-hmm. Always. But anyway, that's a story for another day. We're down to the last 12 minutes here. I want to go over one thing. Keith, do you have any trivia you want to talk about with this show?
UFO?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of mine just, I've given you a good portion of it. Let's see. Outside of what I've already given, UFO really was a show that was unlike anything that Gerry Anderson had presented before. As you've alluded to, both in terms of the use of actors, I think also the number of actors, and all I think it was I think this was also an outgrowth of their movie called Doppelganger, which was known as Journey to the Far Side of the Sun.
Yeah.
Which had the same actor from The Invaders.
Yes. Yes.
And I own that movie. I love that movie. The idea that there is an opposite Earth that always stays on the opposite side of the sun.
Yeah. It was a fascinating experiment from them.
And that was also produced by Sir Lou Grade.
But overall, I mean, I think this was the second television series I remember growing up that was made in the 60s and or 70s that was actually about the 1990s, 1980s stuff. The first one being Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which was taking place in 1984. So, but that's, again, if you've never seen the show, you are in for a treat. It is like nothing you have ever seen before. It is pure 60s version of the 80s.
Yeah, it's great. And I guess my closing thoughts is going to be basically about the planned third season. Because what ITC discovered was that the moon-based episodes proved to be the most popular episodes rather than the Earth-based stories. So ITC insisted that the new season or series, that the action would mostly take place entirely on the moon. And Gerry Anderson proposed a format which Shadow Moon Base had been greatly enlarged over the last 20 years and becoming the organization's main headquarters. And pre-production of what was called UFO 2 began in '69, with extensive research and designs on the moon base. These developments eventually became, because they were going to call it subplot Kill Stryker. That was one of the things I remember too, is that the aliens were out to kill him, and he was on the moon. But eventually it evolved into Space 1999, and the alien aspect of it was minimalized to the point where it's really weird, because the explosion wouldn't have taken place if something wasn't happening to the personnel. Yeah. And they were doing something to the personnel, but they ended up like putting it off to, what did they say it was? The radiation? What were they saying that caused it? I can't remember. But I felt that was a mistake. They should have. Well, and yes, Glenn, Roy Thinnes, or Thinnes, however you pronounce it.
And
Roy Thinnes.
As Glenn keeps reminding us, it's Straker, not Striker.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm saying it wrong. Thank you, Glenn, you limey prick. I mean, great guy. Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate it, buddy.
Roy Thinnes, at least you didn't F-bomb him.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
Well, wasn't Roy Thinnes part of the cast of Dark Shadows also?
No, I think he was General Hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I remember he did The Invaders, and then he did Journey to the Far Side of the Sun. He was in the Hindenburg. But I don't think that he was involved with that. No.
And then, of course, the X-Files.
Oh yes, yeah. He made a great, him and Carl Kolchak, Darren McGavin. That was great. But he really wasn't in a lot of stuff. His career kind of dwindled over the years. Thinnes, and I liked him as an actor. He was really good.
Do you know Bobby Kennedy approached him when they were doing The Invaders?
No.
Really?
Bobby Kennedy was a card-carrying member of NICAP, National Investigative Committee on Aerial Phenomena. He had a big interest in UFOs. Yeah.
Well, Thinnes was a big believer in aliens.
And still is.
Is he still with us? Oh, that's great. I'd love to talk to that guy one day.
I tried desperately to get him to come on my show. My buddy Rich Saraday okay, knew Roy Thinnis's son. I had tried to reach him back in the early 90s and was never successful. But his son and Rich, my buddy Rich, were friends. They met and were friendly. They used to have coffee together at a Starbucks up around Tujunga, California. And when Rich told me that, I said, "Oh my God, you're kidding. Let's get his dad on." And I tried to get his dad, but his dad then was in his 80s and he just didn't want to. He was just tired, but he's still with us.
Yeah. He's 84 years old now. And wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, Thinnis is one of those guys that I'd like to, because I told you, Don, there are very few celebrities I give a shit to meet. I know a lot of them and it doesn't mean anything to me. But he's one of those actors I would like to talk to, because when I heard that he believed in a lot of the stuff, I was
he had a sighting, Gary. He had a sighting 2 or 3 days before The Invaders premiered. He had a UFO. Him and his wife were driving down. If I remember, it was one of the big freeways. It might have been the 405. Okay. When he was driving, his wife was sitting beside him. She was looking out the window and she said, "Roy, what's that? What's that?" And he looked up and a UFO was shooting through the sky. Okay. A white dot. It was obviously not a conventional aircraft. Right. And she said, "Oh my God, you've got to tell everybody about that." And he said primarily, right before The Invaders premieres, they're going to think it's a publicity stunt. So he kept it to himself. That came out years later.
He was I was just going to say he was actually meant to be a part of the cast of Law and Order. And he ended up not joining the show, even though he had done technically a pilot type thing for them in the 90s, because he was contractually obligated to do the Dark Shadows revival series in 1991. And so he's replaced by Stephen Hill. They replaced his character and with what Stephen Hill joined the show.
I like that revival in the 90s. That was a good show. What's his name? The
guy that played Barnabas. British, wasn't he? He was a British actor.
British actor. He was in The Far Pavilions before that, and which was not a bad film. I like that movie. But he also plays Spock's dad in the 2009 Star Trek movie.
One of the few. He was actually very good in that part. And he just recently passed away within the last 3 years.
Oh, he did? I didn't know.
Yeah. He's gone. He's gone.
Oh, wow.
You didn't know
you didn't.
That.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't know that. It made the news, and
I can't think of his name, Keith. I can't think of his name.
Let's see. Go ahead.
I'm going to go look. What was that? 1991. Yeah.
And
I was still in the military.
Cross.
Ben Cross. Wow.
Ben Cross.
Wow. He died in August of 2020.
COVID?
I don't know.
I don't remember, but what I remember of, for me,
cancer.
I remember him
brought on by COVID.
I remember him from Chariots of Fire, which was the first time that I saw him. And
he was the main runner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But Ben was a very good actor. I liked that revival of Dark Shadows.
Yeah, me too.
Good show.
Me too.
He was great as Barnabas Collins.
Well, Thinnis was part of the cast of the revival version.
And he got, because it still has his name, Roy Thinnis as Roger Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I did not know he was in that. Oh, my God. Daniel Collins was played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to see who else was in it that was really cool. Yeah, a lot of them not cool people. Yeah, yeah, not that many cool people.
Well,
involved.
I mean, Lisette Anthony, because I liked her. She's a very good actress. I remember. Well, Lisette Anthony was in Krull. She's the princess.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My one point of contention with anything was the 2012 movie. Oh my God, Daniel Collins was not that many cool people.
Well,
That was me.
Oh, I was like, what the fuck happened?
Up. Number 6.
Oh, did I say? Oh, you were checking me.
I told you, and I'm going to keep a log.
All right, so the 2012 film I didn't like because they turned it into a joke, and I'm like, that's it. I'm out. Not interested in a comical version of that show. I want to thank Monkey Jeebus for being the first one on today in the chat. D. Bud Martin, Penny, Tin Man, Magitech Mags, Glenn Fleming, the Jack of All Casuals, Joe's Atmosphere, Alex Moore, Charlie Bruce, Stephanie Beatty, Marcos A. Scott Lewis, of course, showed up in the chat, not on the show. War Monkey, making it officially a House of Monkeys today. And of course, Darius Munchausen. Nobody else showed up? Is that really it?
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a light show today.
Yeah, that's weird. But I want to again thank Magitech for your $5 super chat. And I agree with you. I think that if we are able to find a way to censor me, every time I say the F word, it should be forking from The Good Place. I think that'd be funny.
Roy Thinnis served the United States Army. He was a military police officer.
Well, that was Hollywood all the way up all the way going to the early 70s. There were a lot of military vets in Hollywood. Not so today. Not so today.
Well, his character, David Vincent, was a Korean War vet on the Invaders.
Right. And I want to go back and I want, because I have them on my computer, so I can just pop them in whenever I want. I think I'm going to watch an episode today, the pilot. What a great series that was. UFO, I also have. I'm probably going to put that on my pad so I can go to sleep to it at night and have nightmares about aliens. And I loved how, one last thing, I loved the eye part, that they wore like fake eyes over their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually, they're biological eyes they wore over their eyes. And on top of that, they had a liquid in their helmets because they breathed the liquid. Because their atmosphere on their planet was liquid. And I always thought that was weird that they were harvesting organs from humans to help save their species. And I'm like, wow. I mean, because it seems really diverse in how they exist.
Mm-hmm.
That what could they have used from us? I don't know. I got to go back and watch that show and figure that out. But Don, thanks for being here today, man. This was such a great show. I love talking about this show.
I always feel like I'm pulling down your ratings.
No, look, I do believe that
it's me.
There's a group of individuals that are intentionally effing with our numbers because of you, and I want to have you on in spite of them that are doing it. So, not going to say who it is, but there's
as long as I got coffee, Gary.
Yeah. Just remember, there's no summers in Antarctica.
Well, technically there is.
Shut up, John. I'm saying
right.
something. I'm saying no summers in Antarctica for a reason.
Okay.
Not going to say what I'm saying.
Well, we did hold you down to 6 F-bombs today, Gary. So that's a start.
I'm relieved. I really, because look, if I could do it when Zoe was little, I can do it now, because I PG'd myself all the way with Zoe until she was 12, and then she accidentally butt dialed me, And I sat there on speakerphone, set my phone next to me. She continued talking with all of her girlfriends at the mall. No parents watching them immediate or right close to them. And I was just like, that's it. I'm done PGing things up for you. You kids are filthy little animals. And yeah, you don't get PG dad anymore. F that. So I ended that. I want to thank Don for being here. I want to thank Keith for staying awake for the most part. I mean, you're cutting into your sleep time to be on here, and I appreciate it more than anything. Because this is, talking about this show, I really wanted you involved because I know you would love this show as much as I do. I, of course, thank Das Wolfen, who likes to touch my monkey. And Das Wolfen, John, thanks a lot, buddy. And I will always dox you, John. I'm always going to dox you.
That's fine. I'm doxing myself, so.
There you go. Yeah. But anyway, I want to thank especially Martin Acosta Santana, who is Venezuelan by way of Mexico, by way of Ohio.
Ohio, yeah.
Yeah, Ohio, Mexico, Ohio. We have a Mexico, Missouri.
Yep.
So Cuba, too. Shit, we got Lebanon. So
we got a Central America Martha's Vineyard.
We've got a Versailles, Missouri.
Yes, we do. But they mispronounce it and they call it Versailles.
Yep.
And that just irritates the ever-loving shit out of me.
My mom used to yell at me because I would always say Versailles instead of Versailles.
Well, that's what it is. It's like my sister and I got into a fight over Monticello. She goes, no, Illinois, it's called Monticello. And I went, no, it's the same freaking word. It's
Thank
the same
you, Gerry.
word.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Doc.
He can be taught.
I'm just another monkey. I can be trained. Ask Robert Shaw.
For that, you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
There you go. With that, I'm going to end the show here. Great show, guys. It was fun talking about all these subjects. And anytime we diverge and go into military stuff, I love it. I love talking military shit. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll get some rewatches on this, and our numbers will go up within a few days. Because, YouTube, I think YouTube is not doing it on purpose. I think somebody else is. And I'm going to keep doing it in spite of them. Because this is my favorite day of the week. Hump day, motherfucker.
That's one.
No, I stopped.
That counts.
Oh, no. No, please. Let me have this one. Gene Roddenberry is here. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Peter Rinkman fan site. Did I already say hi to you? I'm not sure if I did, but I want to thank you guys for watching. And I don't know. I think we could use a little more cowbell this episode. You can always use more cowbell. But as I was telling Keith last week,